Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight. My guest he's a stand-up comedian, a writer, a director, a producer, and a filmmaker, Ricky W. Glore. How's it going, Ricky?
Hey, what does the W stand for?
I know. I had to add that.
You know? I know it.
Oh, really? What it does?
It's William.
Okay, Ricky William Glore. How's that?
And I'm technically a junior because me and my dad are both birth certificate Rickies. And so I'm technically a junior. He goes by Rick. I will never go by Rick because Rick is the name of someone's stepdad.
So, has your dad ever seen you do any stand-up comedy?
Oh yeah, tons. There was a bit a while ago. There's a bit in my first album about him taking us to the Burt Reynolds Museum and Ranch 3 times as our family vacation. There's a bit that I used to do that's a true story of my mom found that he was trying to build a 1960s Batmobile because he had put, you know how they have the bubble windshields on the 60s, the Adam West one?
Yeah.
He had those underneath their bed that they slept in, like a fool. He had those under there. My mom was like, Rick, what are these? And he's like, they're new window curtain rods. And she's like hell they are. They're Batmobile bubble windshields. And she's like, are you trying to build a Batmobile? And he's like, no. She's like, Rick. And he secretly had an old, like a T-Bird or something, a car that has a similar body style of the Batmobile. He had it purchased and on a lot somewhere that he was going to pay a guy to convert it into a 60s Batmobile. And my mom gave him the ultimatum. She's like, if you do that, I will divorce you.
What?
But that is a story that I used to tell with jokes, more jokes or whatever, minus the true stuff in my stand-up. So yes, my dad has seen me perform. Also, he saw my warm-up to my, I just recorded my second special up in Michigan about a month ago. And so he watched me do my warm-up set in Northern Kentucky before I went off and did that.
That's pretty cool. At least you got a good supportive father. And that would have been cool if you really did have the Batmobile, and I bet you probably would have had fun in it.
He has a 77 Smokey and the Bandit Edition Trans Am. So, I mean, beggars can't be choosers. At least you can drive the Trans Am in the rain. The Batmobile doesn't have a top. It's a constant convertible.
I bet you probably wear the red button-up shirt, the cowboy hat, the boots, and the jeans, and I bet you act like you're the bandit.
Have you not watched our proof of concept that we made for Roadkill?
No.
Oh, so the movie that we were going to make right after All Your Friends Are Dead, we did a proof of concept, and the idea is, what if Smokey and the Bandit were a horror movie? And so we actually made I think it's like 6 or 7 minutes mini movie using the 77 Trans Am, and if the bandit were like a slasher killer, instead of picking up brides, he would pick up brides and kill them. Yeah, I'll shoot you the link to that. Maybe you can share that with us. But we found out that movie was going to cost us $50,000 to make, and we do not have $50,000. As we're finding out with this Kickstarter for Open House, we don't have $15,000, and that's why we need people to contribute and act as producers to make this movie happen.
So the movie you're doing is called Open House, a horror musical comedy. I like that. Have you ever did a horror musical comedy before?
Yes. So the inspiration for this comes from, as you know, from watching All Your Friends Are Dead and us talking about that. My favorite ideas have a more of a personal story behind them. So All Your Friends Are Dead was a semi-autobiographical story about what if, when I got hurt playing sports in high school, if instead of turning to theater like I did, if I'd have become an alcoholic, depressive drug addict that ends up then killing all of his friends later on in life because he is bitter. Spoiler. But so Open House, where it comes from, is Missy and Mark first. These realtors, they're eccentric in this small town, and Missy's husband Mark writes and produces and directs original musical theater for his wife Missy to perform. But because she's burnt all of her bridges at the local community theater, the only way they can perform this is in the basement of their house, where they kidnap and torture people by restraining them and make them watch the workshop musical they're working on. And if they become unruly audience members, they then hook them up by their hands and their feet and take a kebab slicer and, like at a delicatessen, slice off pieces of them and eat it in front of the other audience members. Where that story comes from is I met my wife writing and directing and producing black box storefront musical theater that usually were horror and comedy in nature up in Chicago. And when I met my wife, it wasn't out of nepotism. I legit thought that she was one of the best performers that I'd ever seen and was enigmatic. She's in All Your Friends Are Dead. She's at the brewery scene. And it was great watching people see her in that. And she lights up the screen. Like, she is incredibly charismatic and energetic on screen. And I continued to write her shows while we were in Chicago, like Mall Santa, Maul Santa, Fleetwood Macbeth, which it was the music of Fleetwood Mac set to the story of Macbeth in a 70s radio station. And I kept putting her in those shows. So when I was thinking about open house, I was like, oh, the relationship of this realty couple is a more intense, psychotic, delusional version of what my wife and I went through. Let's see if we can dial that up for a horror movie and have it be some awkward, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Rocky Horror Picture Show, or even better, Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Waiting for Guffman.
Ooh, that's
like
wild.
Movie.
That is too wild. And it starts off with two people, Liz and Farrah. They were, like squatters, squatting in different houses until they meet, Missy and Mark. And boy, did their life change.
Well, and that's the primary story, the base story of the whole movie is, what would you be willing to do to fulfill the dreams of your partner? At what lengths are you willing to go to give the person that you love the most in your life everything that they want, everything that they think they deserve? So for Missy and Mark, it's Missy wanting to be a star. And so Mark writes the music, directs her, writes the plays, and has her star in it. And he also has to drug and kidnap people and tie them and restrain them into the basement so she has an audience. So he does that because he loves her. Liz and Farrah are a mother and daughter, mother and her teenage daughter, who are homeless. And the grift that they pull, one of many, is that they will get house showings. They'll pretend that they're looking at houses to buy. And while they're there, they unlock some windows and some doors. And then they come back later that night and they break in. And Liz does that so her daughter Farrah has a house over her head to sleep in at night. But when their paths cross, that's when open house truly begins.
Ooh, this is wild. I can't wait. And I hope a lot of people, give you some money for the Indiegogo so you can produce this. Kickstarter is all or nothing. Indiegogo, you get whatever you raise. We're putting our money where our mouth is. Kickstarter has a little bit more cachet than Indiegogo. And we do want the all or nothing thing because we don't want to just sell perks. And we don't want people, it's not like a GoFundMe. Like, we're asking for money, like, oh, please donate to us. No, we have this idea. We already have it cast, a majority of the cast. We've already done some filming when this goes live. And we're offering, like, the same perks we did for All Your Friends Are Dead. So you contributing to this film, you in essence become a producer. Now, that's also some of the perks. You can be listed as an associate producer in the movie, on the box art, like the Blu-rays, like you have for All Your Friends Are Dead, or the poster. Your name will appear there as an associate producer or higher tier producer, or you can get killed in the movie, like we did, as you saw the credit sequence for All Your Friends Are Dead. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite scenes with the podcast couple. And you can buy a Blu-ray, which your name will appear in the movie then too. Special limited edition Blu-ray that's only going to be through the Kickstarter. And if no other perks were selected, if we sold 150 Blu-rays
that would give us the budget, the $15,000 that we need for open house. And so you're not getting nothing. You're getting the movie, and you are becoming a producer because you are making the movie happen.
That's pretty awesome. Now let's talk about the casting for this. When you cast for this movie, did the people have to be musically talented?
So my wife, who plays Missy, as I already mentioned, when Chicago, she has a musical theater background. Mm-hmm. So she already, because the part was written for her, mm-hmm. is musically talented. Timmy Barone, who plays Mark, is an actor we actually worked with in theater mm-hmm. in Chicago, and he's gone on to get a lot of accolades and credits in indie films, and has been on Chicago Fire. And if you look at his IMDb, it's pretty amazing. Super talented. He actually plays piano. He played the Bandit in our Smokey and the Bandit the musical when we did it in Chicago. So he's got a great mustache, as you can see in pictures and in the teaser trailer that's on Kickstarter. And he's musically talented, good singer, good pianist. Lisa Walton, who plays Liz, I think she's the least musically inclined, but her audition just blew us away, that we're like, oh yeah, she's perfect for this. And then Jasmine Fondrisi is kind of a newcomer to film, but has extensive musical theater background and a great singing voice that I'm really looking forward to. It's interesting because Liz and Farrah, in this mother and daughter relationship, go through via evolution and this horrific event. Liz is on top and is her mother, as it should be. But then as this horrific event happens, she starts declining, and Farrah, as the craziness builds, starts becoming the provider and the protector for her own mother. That's pretty wild.
So is there going to be, besides musical numbers, is there going to be a lot of blood?
Yes, we're feeding the blood as well. David Kornfeld, who I worked with in Chicago, and he's currently on tour with the Broadway tour Jagged Little Pill. He composed and arranged the music that I originally wrote and we're co-writing together. But besides that happening, Trevor Thompson, you can watch on Kickstarter his special effects reel. He's done some amazing work. So good, in fact, when we started talking to him about seeing if he was interested in being on this project, I sent Nick Hyance, my partner through NKY Films and cinematographer for Open House, I sent him Trevor's website. And on Trevor's website, he has a bunch of notable actors that he's worked with, one being William Shatner, to which Nick Hyance said, oh, there's no way we're going to be able to afford this guy. He worked with Captain Kirk. And luckily, Trevor, as good as he is, he does have, an interest in interesting new and original projects. And so he read Open House and we discussed it. And he was like, oh, yeah, I definitely want to do this. And part of how Missy and Mark kill ultimately their victims before they eat them is they chain them up, where they put hooks through their hands and through their feet, the top of their feet, and they chain them up, and they take a kebab slicer, because my wife, Ali Delianitis, is very Greek, so her character, also possibly Greek in the movie, they take a kebab slicer, and like a delicatessen, they slice off pieces of people's flesh, and they eat it in front of the rest of the audience members.
Wow, you got me intrigued, man. This definitely
it's gonna be messy.
This definitely needs to happen, damn it.
There's also, we have in our movie, I won't go into how intricately it is connected story-wise, but there is our own restaurant, kind of in the style of a KFC or a Bob Evans, a restaurant called Sweetmeats. That's all I'll say. It's a little homage to Motel Hell. So if you're familiar with Motel Hell, and you've already heard me talking about them taking a kebab slicer and eating people, you'll have to see the movie.
So this is going to be cool. So are you going to film this in a legit open house, one of those open houses you see in the neighborhood?
Well, we are going to film in some houses. But here's the other cool thing, and it has nothing to do with the story, but it is an incredibly cool location for the production value alone. Is the basement, their torture basement? We're filming in the basement of the haunted bar Bobby Mackey's in Wilder, Kentucky. If you've ever seen the ghost tours, or if you've ever seen any ghost shows, Bobby Mackey's, the bar in Wilder, Kentucky, is famed for being haunted, where a girl supposedly got decapitated and they never found her head. We're filming our movie in that basement. So hopefully we all survived the filming.
That's pretty awesome. I've been down and investigated with some paranormal investigators down in the basement. When I went down there, we picked up a lot of paranormal activity, especially the dressing room where this actress killed herself. You can smell like the rose perfume, and there's a lot of dead kids that go around and play and mess with you down there too.
Yep, and we're filming in those dressing rooms too.
Ooh.
One of those is gonna be a holding cell for Liz while she's captured down there, and the nicer one's gonna be Missy's dressing room, makeup room.
That is pretty wild. You're filming a horror movie in a haunted basement at the Bobby Mackey's Country Bar, man. Who knows, while you're filming, you may end up picking up some paranormal activity in the film.
Again, if one of us dies while we're making it, that's just going to make the movie more interesting and sought after. If it turns into our own little haunted behind the scenes like Poltergeist.
That's pretty wild. And I need to be there when you film that basement scene.
We're going to be there for... I think our schedule has it right now. We're going to be there for 5 days, maybe 6. 3 of them are just going to be spent on special effects. Mm-hmm. So 3 special effects days. And then I think 3 days of just the musical performances and stuff. Because there's a makeshift stage that's down there in theater seats while they do these numbers for their restrained hostage audiences.
Dude, I need to come down at least one day just to witness this, man, just to see this and have my eyes and mouth be like, wow.
And also to get people interested, like I said, I'll share with you the Roadkill short. We filmed a lot of Roadkill inside and outside Bobby Mackey's as well, but on the main floor.
That's wild too, because up in the main floor, especially towards by the pool table up there, I picked a bunch of stuff up on a spirit box, which was pretty freaky. That has a lot of activity over there too. And then if you go up to the caretaker's room up there, you pick up a lot of crazy stuff.
We filmed around the pool table.
No,
we filmed around it.
That's a hot spot for a lot of activity, because I picked up a lot of activity right there. Wow.
Yeah, hopefully we all make it out alive. Or if we don't, hopefully that makes the movie even more successful.
Yeah, and then you go down there and you'll see a lot of fresh meat kills. So somebody will probably take it and sell the whole cast and crew's meat at a butcher shop somewhere. Who knows?
At Sweetmeats, at the restaurant Sweetmeats.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're going to film at Bobby Mackey's. Is there any other interesting places you're going to be filming the film as well?
I think it's near Harrison. There is a restaurant that one of our producers secured called Nick's Restaurant.
Okay.
That's going to be doubling as one of the Sweetmeats locations.
Nice.
And I'll tell you get this exclusive because you saw All Your Friends Are Dead. Do you remember Hardware Store Bob?
Oh, I love Hardware Store Bob.
And from All Your Friends Are Dead inside the hardware store?
Yeah.
Whose eye got popped out?
Yep.
Well, he is actually the owner and grandson of Sweetmeats in Open House. He'll be in TV commercials in Open House, returning as Bob. His last name's Sweets. He's Bob Sweets III, and he's going to be wearing an eye patch because he lost his eye. And All Your Friends Are Dead. I
remember that, and I loved his character. I mean, that guy was wild, and I love how you're adding him from your last movie. It's like a whole movie universe, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of people that will have seen All Your Friends Are Dead to pick up on that, probably very few and far between. But for the ones who have, or the ones that follow us, there will be these fun little Easter eggs that will. There's a good chance that Matt Wilby's landscaping truck will make an appearance in Open House.
Yes.
So you keep an eye out for that. We like doing. That's just self-gratifying for me and Nick, just to put like little things like that. But no, Bob Sweets, Hardware Store Bob, being the grandson of this like Colonel Sanders kind of character in our world. I think it's gonna be pretty fun. I think it's gonna scratch a fun horror itch that a lot of people have. That even if the idea of it being a dark comedy or it having musical elements, that can turn off some horror people. I'm just telling you, it's going to be gruesome. It's going to scratch that like 80s horror itch of like a Motel Hell. If you like that movie, you're going to love so much about Open House.
Dude, I'm hooked, especially the recurring character. I loved him, man.
You're hooked in hand.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, you got me excited. I'm definitely gonna get a Blu-ray from the Kickstarter, man. You got my full support, and I'm gonna definitely push it too, because I loved your film Are Your Friends Are Dead. It was great. I mean, I thought it was a fun film. Yeah, I thought it was a fun film. I mean, people who are listening to this, you better find out where to watch Are Your Friends Are Dead too, because it was pretty good.
It got picked up for distribution. There was another limited Blu-ray run that's not the same as the Blu-ray we did on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's a newly produced one with a new commentary track by SRS Cinemas. And the streaming of that, I think, is happening in June. So when this drops, you might be able to even put a link that people can go to if it's on Tubi or Amazon. I don't know where it's going to be, where distribution's going to put it, but we should know by June or July where that's going to end up. And the other thing we're offering is we still have some copies of All Your Friends Are Dead from that Kickstarter. We're offering a combo pack that if you can get when Open House comes out, that exclusive Blu-ray, and if you don't already have a copy of All Your Friends Are Dead, again, the ones we have left are that with the commentary with me and Nick on it. That's the only place you can get that commentary. It's not on the SRS Blu-ray that they put out. So get those while they still last, and you can get both of them.
So how pumped is Nick for this project, man? Nick's everywhere.
Nick is very excited. We just had a production meeting today about some different lenses, and he did some color testing for the camera. Nick's very excited for this for the same reason that I am, is we get to wear less hats, because I'm not starring in this movie, thank God. That was done out of necessity. Even though people said they enjoyed me and All Your Friends Are Dead, I'm happy to not be in front of the camera, that I get to just look at a monitor and actually direct the actors and not have to worry about directing myself or being in the scene. Nick co-directed All Your Friends Are Dead. He is very happy to just be an executive producer and be the cinematographer, so he can put all of his efforts being behind the camera. And that's a nice way to evolve in our filmmaking, is hopefully wearing a little less hats. We have a great costume designer in Ashley Meenich. She's already did costumes for the teaser trailer, which you can watch on the Kickstarter. Looks phenomenal. I know you saw him in the photos. Lizzie Shrebus, who worked as an assistant.
Love her.
For All Your Friends Are Dead. Yeah, she's did the makeup, the hair and makeup for the teaser trailer, and she's going to be head makeup and hair for Open House. And like I said, Trevor Thompson is doing the special effects. PJ Starks, another Kentucky filmmaker who did 13 Slaves Till Christmas, currently working on New Fear's Eve. He's from Owensboro. We connected, and he's come on board as an executive producer, really helping us and pushing the word and getting the Kickstarter out there to help us get our financing.
That's pretty good. Will we also see Kira pop up in this film?
Kira was offered a part in this piece so by the time this comes out, we'll have already filmed a part of the movie that we got access to a location early. So we're kind of doing a small part of the movie before we get into primary production. We were going to have, so it's a montage of other realtors that aren't Mark and Missy.
Yeah.
And so Nick and I were like, oh, this would be the great opportunity to have all the cast of All Your Friends Are Dead. So Eileen, Ernest, Patrick Johnston, Chance Kilgore, and Kira and Jason Irvin be the realtors that we see in this montage. That would be a great way to have them all featured in the movie. We found out last minute that we had access to this location. So I reached out to everyone. I was like, if you're available, would you want to do it? And this isn't to say they won't appear somewhere else in the movie.
Yeah.
But I thought this one would have been a really good spot. And unfortunately, Kira's booked because she works every day. She works so much. Patrick's already busy. Eileen has a scheduling conflict. Chance is saying that he's able to be one of the realtors. So he'll appear in that montage. And hopefully everybody else, including Kira, will get them for like maybe the Nick's restaurant scene. We'll get them somewhere in there.
That's pretty good. I hope we do get to see Kira and Patrick. I love those guys. And I also love Lizzie. She's great doing that makeup, special effects part, because she's part with her dad, part of USS Nightmare in Kentucky too, where she does all the makeup, which is awesome too. So where can everybody find you on social media and the Kickstarter?
If you want to search Ricky Glore Open House Kickstarter in Google, that should take you there. You will have the link posted with the show notes of this and when you advertise it. And you can find me anywhere at Ricky Glore, at Ricky Glore Comedy, on Instagram at Glore Ricky. And we hopefully, even if you aren't able to contribute to Open House financially, if you're listening to this, share it as much as possible, because if you share it with 50 people, maybe 5 people will be able to contribute financially, or maybe those 5 people will share it, and then it'll just spread like wildfire, and then everybody who might be interested in a project like this will get their eyes on it, and those who can contribute or produce or get a Blu-ray or whatever will do that, and that's a big help on its own. I'm hoping so the campaign lasts June 1st through June 30th, and we have to make it or break it. So we gotta get 15,000 or we don't get anything. I'm hoping during the run of this campaign, we're able to announce some extra perks and some surprises that are currently in the works right now that help elevate this movie even more, to make it even better. Because I do feel that this is an interesting, fun, original idea, that there is room for something like this in the horror world. And we're seeing a horror renaissance right now with like Scream 6 and Evil Dead Rise, where I think horror fans, it's a great time to be a horror fan because you're getting a lot of fun material to watch.
I think so too, and especially Terrifier 2 as well. And if you're ever looking for a realtor, just let me know.
Do you play a good realtor?
Shoot, I could play a shady realtor.
You could be a shady AF realtor.
That's right.
Look at that hair.
Exactly.
You can't trust that hair.
It's beautiful hair. But anyways, thank you so much for coming on and out of your busy schedule.
Oh, happy to. Like I said, you supported us coming to the Esquire and watching All Your Friends Are Dead. It was a pleasure having you in the audience for that, because you have a nice, big, boisterous laugh. I was mentioning on one of the reasons why we kind of decided to do Open House, a horror dark comedy, was those 2 screenings at the Esquire. The first one, people were laughing in areas that we didn't know would get that kind of reaction, and like a good laugh at. Like they weren't laughing at the movie; they were laughing with it. Like oh, we think this is funny.
I was there, yeah.
And so that first screening, we were like, well, maybe this audience, because they know us, they're laughing at some things another audience wouldn't. And then the next screening, which I think is the one you're at, where it was filled mostly with people we didn't know, people were laughing just as hard or harder at the same spots. And we're like, oh, this is awesome to be able to have horror and comedy. So even if, like, if you're just making a comedy movie, people would be like, well, all right, show me how funny you are. Like, you better be funny. And they'd be a little bit more judgmental. Or just straight horror, if you're trying to make something quote-unquote scary, they'd be like, all right, you better scare me. Well, that wasn't scary. But if you can do both, the expectations are a little bit lower, and there's a little bit more of a roller coaster where you can play off of both those things and really unnerve people a little bit. And maybe they laugh at the comedy stuff a little harder because they don't see it coming. And then maybe they get a little bit more skeeved. Like in All Your Friends Are Dead, when the killing started happening, I remember there was, in the second screening, an older woman who was there, and she was like, oh, like turning away. And I was like, oh, that's the best. Like turning away from something we put on screen that is 100% fake. Perfect.
That's awesome. And thank you so much. And everybody, thank you for listening to Horror Pop After Midnight.